Hello, my name is John Spangle, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Underground. I named this YouTube channel Underground to represent the underground church that's in places of the earth today, like in China and Iran too. I always mention foremost they need so much prayer. Uh, More as we go closer to tribulation, the church will go underground even more because of persecution of the Christians and those that are left. And during tribulation, it will be total underground. I'm not a minister, a preacher type person, or a teacher or anything. I'm just someone that loves to talk about God. And I made these videos. Like I mentioned before, I have health issues and I have trouble. I've not been to church for quite a while. And so I make these videos I love to talk about God. And I like to hit subjects that people are like, I wonder about that. I mean, I've done videos about science proving the Bible. I've done videos where I've talked about giants. I love that subject. I did even one about cannibalism. I get a little crazy on some of my videos. I'm a veteran, and I've done Air Force and for 8 years, and I was in the Army National Guard for 13 years. I'm a combat veteran. But I've done survival training and different things in the military, so that's the reason I get kind of whacked out on some of my subjects. God's involved in everything, and the whole purpose of the church on my mind, the whole purpose of this videos are to motivate you to study God's Word and look at things yourself. I wanted to do this one, title this one, Everyone Will Hate You. I have an understanding. I didn't understand when I was a young man. First time I went overseas, I was in the Air Force. We built the only POW training camp. I was on Guam for almost 2 years. And it was my training and proving grounds. I've done a lot of mistakes, but I corrected myself while I was over there. It's easy to go away and correct yourself, as in correcting yourself over there. I got involved in drinking and fighting and doing a lot of other stuff and godly stuff. And I compromised myself, so I did more towards, because I was away from home, away from my church background helping me out. And I just got involved in because I wasn't following the crowd and the way people were. And I was like, well, I followed the crowd, so to speak. But I matured enough that I walked away and I asked God help, and I walked away. Changed a lot of the habits I was picking up over there. But that's the reason why I want to make this video, to give understanding. It talks about in John chapter 15, verses 18 through 25. If the world hate you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love his own. But because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. If I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin. But now they have no cloak for their sin. He that hateth me hateth my Father also. If I had not done it among them the works which none other man did, they had not sinned. But now have they both seen and hated both me and my Father. But this come to pass that their word might be fulfilled that is written in the law, they hated me without a cause. This just reminds me of I was on Twitter for a while, and I do a lot of martial arts training. That's the reason why sometimes my knuckles. After all these years, so if you see me like, man, what's wrong with his knuckles? It's Iron Fist. But I went on Twitter, and there were some things that I talked about, and I still have the Twitter, but I'm not on there anymore. I couldn't get to delete high-tech stuff. I probably asked my 9-year-old grandson, he could tell me what to do. But I had talked about, they were talking about some, it was a homosexual marriage, or a pastor was homosexual or something. So I put in there that was wrong, not about the person, because we could be saved from anything, it's about the sin. And I had so many people go in, hey, man, you're hateful, you're a Christian, blah, 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 whatever, get out. And then I wrote something, and I had put, instead of capitalized G-O-D, I capitalized the G, but left the O-D lower letters. And then someone else attacked me saying, I know you're a phony because you should have capitalized the whole thing. Trivial. Just crazy. Crazy. The reason I got off Twitter or stopped going on there, I put a few videos on there, but just I tend to look too much into the politics of today. Our country's going to fail. I spent 21 years in the military. It bothers me. I talked to my wife about it, and I have to let go. We know America's going to fail. America's going to get invaded, or something's going to happen to us real soon. And I know it's going to happen. I know it makes me mad. Our military is so weak now. People put out and think we're the best in the world. We are not anymore, and haven't been for a while. And it went down during the Obama years. And this is not political because of Republican, Democrat. I'm just being honest. It went down the Obama years. Trump tried to build it back up, and then it's gone back down again. I'm not for Trump. I voted for him in the last election. A lot of people were like, well, we push it. I don't even know if I'm going to vote in the next election because obviously he didn't win. And we know I don't believe that 81 million people voted for Biden. It's the lies and things are out there. But at the same time, though, I don't look for Trump for the answer of everything. I look to God because there's some things I question about him. A lot of people don't understand that Nikola Tesla, when he had his notes taken away, that Trump's uncle was involved in on that. And a lot of stuff were taken by our government. People don't have because they went in and stole after a man died instead of letting it go to his relatives. So there's a lot of things there going on, and he pushes the vaccine. He didn't have it, but he sure pushes the work thing or whatever for the vaccine. There's a lot going on. There is propaganda, and Republicans, we're the best for you, and Democrats are evil. Be honest with you, I'll be straightforward. They're all evil, every last one of them. Anyways, well, enough of the politics. That's why I stopped Twitter. Excuse me, my throat. Luke chapter 6, verses 22 through 23. Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from the company, and shall reproach you, and cast your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice in that day, and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven, for in the like manner did the fathers unto the prophets. In other words, if you're living for God, people are going to give you a hard time. They're going to mock you and do everything. If you're involved in a church somewhere, I'm not saying you can't have blessings, but I would question if everything's going right, you never had issues, and everything's hunky-dory, so to speak, Satan's not going to attack someone that's not living right. And that's where I would evaluate, wait a minute, what's going on here? So, because my family right now, we're having, not to get into too much, but we're having a lot of issues and a lot of things going on. And it's just one attack after another. It's bam, 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 bam. I believe we are in the end days. We're heading towards tribulation. Rapture of the church is coming soon, and that's the reason why we're having all these issues and attacks and everything else. Matthew 5th chapter, verse 11. Blessed ye when men shall rail you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Also Matthew 10:22, chapter 10, verse 22. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. And that's the reality of everything. You're going to be hated by everybody. They're going to, this and that, and make accusations. But in the end, you keep up living for God. We go to heaven. That's our reward. When I found out I had my cancer, it was stage 4 rectal cancer in last stages, and they just didn't think I was going to make it. And I had mixed feelings. I was sad for my wife and my kids and grandkids. But then I was anxious, maybe too anxious. I have a cosmic bag and goes off on its own. I can't control it. If you hear it, I'm sorry. But it's one of the reasons why I don't like to get around crowds of people that much. But I was elated because I was like, man, this is it. I'm going to heaven. It's promised to me. I'm saved by the grace of God, not by what I do, because I fail all the time. I pray to God. I had prayer earlier today, and I just started bawling like a baby about some things because I do not want to be a disappointment to my Heavenly Father, and I know I do at times. Because, like I said, I was elated, and some people are like, man, what are you talking about? I mean, you suicidal? No, I'm not suicidal. I don't believe in suicide. Some things happen. People get overwhelmed, and because we are in the flesh, and things happen. I've had friends dear to me commit suicide, and because a person commits suicide, it's a sinful thing, I believe, but doesn't mean that they're not going to go to heaven because of that. Catholic Church says, commit suicide, it's a sin. You won't go to heaven. Of course, I'm a Catholic Church to me is not Christian. I have a lot of friends that are Catholic, but Catholic Church is nothing Christian, not even close. But I knew no matter what, I was going to go to God, so I was consoled that way. James chapter 4, verse 4. I talked this previous video about use this. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. If you accept the ways of this world, you're not going to go to heaven. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 18. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved is the power of God. How many times have I been told, I've even been told by people in my family about I'm mocked a lot by being a fool, that I believe in God, especially my ideas of, what I believe in the rapture can happen any moment. I'm mocked about that. It's just, and the one thing I've been told recently, you obsess too much. You're very obsessive. Obsessive about what? God. Shouldn't obsess. I'm like, then that's a good thing. If you're saying that I'm so obsessive about God, that's not bad. That's good. There's nothing negative about that, but they make it like a negative thing, and I'm like, no, that's all you're talking about, God. Yes, that's all there is to me. God is life. He created me. They don't see that because they're not saved, and it's sad. But they hate you because they don't understand you. You're different. I had a few years ago. I was still in the Air Force before I went Army National Guard. I got into it with a sergeant. It was at an Army base because even though Air Force, we do our. I'm a life support specialist, so we did survival training, chemical warfare, biological training, and worked on equipment, safety equipment, like parachutes and life preservers and things like that. I got into it with this sergeant. He literally kicked me so hard he busted my tailbone. We got in a fight, to be honest with you, just a all-out fight. The reason why he busted my tailbone because I was young and foolish. I was always taught to turn the other cheek. Well, if someone hits you, you can defend yourself. Well, I turned my back, was walking away, which is the worst thing to do because he hauled off and kicked me so hard, knocked me on the ground. Found out later he busted my tailbone. I was in pain, just the tears in my eyes. And then everybody was laughing, and then I just rolled over. I was like, oh, this is it. I'm going to have pain, you're going to have pain. And I just attacked him. Took him out with his legs and just waylaid on him. I know that's not, you're like, hey, you're talking about gun here, you're talking about a fight, Sometimes you got to stand your ground. And later, we became friends, good friends. But the thing was we talked later, about that. Why did you do what you did? He said, because you smiled every day. We were on that military base doing our training, living in the muck, the mud, and all this and that. And no matter what, you smiled. You were happy. was like, yeah, that's why he did it. He was mad I was happy. He wasn't happy. So, but that's the way it is. People will hate you. And I witnessed to this person years later. He had actually died briefly. He was had been drinking in the military, drinking a lot. He was drinking a lot. Threw up and ripped inside his lining in his throat or something like that. And anyways, he was dead for like a minute or two. They brought him back at the hospital, and said, "Well, did you see the light? Did you see the light?" And I was kind of teasing him, trying to put him in a good mood. He's like, "Man, I had nothing but darkness." So we talked, and it's an opportunity to talk. Now, did he get saved later? For sure, because at that moment he won. I don't know. I don't. I did a video previously on where people near death experience, and I think Satan's the king of deception. I don't believe that you die if you go to heaven that you come back, or you see Jesus, but you have to go back. No, there's no coming back. Vice versa, you go to hell, you don't come back. So, what is the phenomenon, a near-death experience? I don't exactly know. I believe it's something to do with Satan because he's a great deceiver, and there's things I can't explain, but I use Scripture to follow everything and learn by, and so. But everyone will hate you, and it's like, well, thanks, I appreciate it. So you say if I try to follow God, you'll have other Christians, around, but he's like, the world will hate you because you represent something. Like I talked earlier, where they were upset and they hated him. Why? Because they realized their life was sin. And they had to stop to do, if they wanted to do what's right, they had to stop what they were doing, and they didn't want to do that. They want to live for the flesh. And that's the reason why the world will hate you, because you represent what they're doing is wrong, and they don't want to admit that. So I look forward to making more videos in the future until we're caught up. And I just hope this motivates you to look more. And if anyone's discouraged by maybe a point in their life right now where they're struggling, like there are times I've been in the past where I've struggled. Understand that there's a reason for that. And just look for God, and God will answer everything and will protect you. Thank you.